I'm Supermoon Tarot, and in today's video, we're going to be looking at big positive changes coming your way. As you can see, we've got every possible crystal you could need at this very moment. We've got protective crystals, crystals that will turn negative or bad energy into positive beneficial energy, crystals that will straight up protect you, crystals that will make you feel more connected to whatever you believe, the universe, spirit guides, that will help you better receive reassurance that you are being protected this time period. We've got crystals to ground you, make you feel more connected to yourself and better process information, crystals for positivity, good fortune, self-love. I've got the gamut here, as you can see. And I thought today's theme should be water themed, because the thing about water is it's fantastic. Often when we don't feel our best, we can think of water as something that can take it away, something to be observed, then go down a river and go on its merry way. We can understand that water is always changing, and that even if it is rapid at some points, it definitely can become tranquil again. That this is both temporary, but also the water itself is not good or bad. It's just there. You know what I'm saying? You don't need to focus on the flow of it. You don't need to focus on the quality of it. Just enjoy what it is. So, with our question in mind, I want you to pick the group of cards that you resonate with most. I'm going to give you a moment to do so. Also, now that you have picked your card, I just wanted to mention that at the same time this video went up, I put out a meditation video because you guys said that you'd like that. And I'm going to put out more in the future every now and then. It should be titled something like relaxing meditation you need right now, or something like that. Whatever. I think that it's really beneficial and positive, and something we need right now that's short but can help you decompress, because all you need is just a few moments to feel a little closer to who you really are, rather than outside forces, if that makes sense. Now, with your card pile picked and in mind, you can go down to the description where you can skip to your designated group and mark the timestamp. Let's get started with group number one. Group number one, let's find out what positive changes are coming to you by looking at the cards. We have Petrified Wood, Oracle card, Rescue Upright, the Hermit Upright. Oh, I love that. Four of Wands in reverse. I love a literal tarot spread. The Sun card in reverse, Four of Cups in reverse. Oh, yay! And the Devil in reverse. This is just so positive. Obviously, that was like our aim and our goal, but it is pretty straight up, pretty straightforward. So this is awesome. Keep in mind your spirit guides and the tarot cards really want you to more focus on certain things at the moment. It's like they are hinting and talking about this big positive opportunity for success. I'm getting very vague answers, like they just keep hinting at it, but they don't want to tell me if it's career oriented. It feels very career oriented, but it's a timing thing, that it's not happening at this very moment. They're like saying, like, listen, yes, that's totally gonna happen, but we want you to focus on X, Y, and Z right now in the moment at this time, because it's important for you, but it's also important for the future, if that makes sense. So let's talk about what's going on here. So first off, I can see over here with the Four of Wands, this implies you are in, you're not in a environment that you're particularly pumped about. This could be your family, this could be roommates, but you're kind of in close quarters, and it's just not maybe the energy and vibes you want. It's not the personality you want. If it's any sort of reassurance, this is not like really heavy negative vibes or anything like that. Not at all. Just kind of like uncomfortable, not your first pick. And it looks like when we have the Hermit card, you are getting an opportunity to be away from them, whether that be your get your own little section of the house, or maybe you're in a different environment, you're not there anymore, whatever it is, there is a sense of like getting to finally be by yourself, which is so darn beautiful. Because the Hermit card talks about, and this is an important thing to acknowledge, especially when we have the Devil card as well in reverse, it looks like this is a time period of like journaling, meditation. It's when you are really going inside yourself and asking questions about what you like, what you don't like, how do you work, why did you do that, but from a very objective, kind of observant way. You think of it as if these things that surround you or you embody are more like put on a mannequin, and you are acknowledging and commenting on it. You wouldn't come at this inanimate object with these emotions or habits with any sort of hate or malice. You would just be more analytical and think, oh, I like that, they should amplify that, they should not give that as much attention, that kind of thing. So there's a lot of like self-exploration, and as a form of distraction too, which is like really beautiful. You can tell the hermit is distracted by this mermaid right now. Which is fantastic. This journaling is incredibly important because when we have the Devil card in reverse, it looks like you're going to be overcoming during this time period of self exploration and self-isolation some bad habits. And bad habits can range from anything from maybe you feel like checking your social media accounts too much is like driving you nuts, and you feel like you're kind of caught in a loop and compelled to do it. This is the time period you're not doing that as much because you're more focused on helping yourself. This is journaling and realizing, oh, I didn't know I did that, and then going, okay, well, now that I have a certain perspective and I have the time to do it, let me see what I can do to work on practical methods, like things that you can actually do in the real world, instead of, when people give the super unhelpful advice, I consider it super unhelpful, when they'll be like, just don't do that anymore. You're like, oh wow, thanks, never thought of that. This is more like, hey, you know, use this as a way to distract you. Try this instead of this, like the actual physical, tangible things you can do in order to help this. So that's going to be happening during this time period, which is really beautiful. And then over here we have another thing that you're exploring during this self-exploration time period is it looks like you're going to be overcoming a mood of kind of Spirit's making me feel like it's a feeling of apathy, but an apathy that comes from feeling so overwhelmed you kind of shut down and you feel nothing. So you're able to better process, just like living life and stuff like that. It looks like a lot of this apathy is leading to not connecting and understanding that your situation is great. It's going to continue to get better and better. When we have the Sun card in reverse, it actually just says, hey, everything's amazing. Everything's fantastic around you. You've got a lot of good things coming your way, physical things, good vibes, all, the gamut, so to speak. But you're not connecting to that. You're not you're not in a place to connect to the idea of gratitude. You're feeling picky about it, if that makes sense. And it's just a perspective thing. Both of these things are perspective things, but it looks like you're going to be overcoming that because the more you're taking time to journal and understand yourself, you feel not so plagued by this, the home situation. It feels less on your mind and it kind of disappears into the background. You feel more excited about what's happening right now because nothing got taken away. You still have your lovely place. You still have yourself. There's still a lot of good things to look forward to. You know what I mean? You start to realize that now is the time to take an opportunity to better yourself and not feel guilty about it and stuff like that. So overall, really positive, very self-exploratory, very self-improvement like, which I love. But then over here, this is something cool and important to acknowledge. The Rescue and Petrified Wood, along with a couple other cards I'm seeing here, both heavily imply a very large amount of success is going to be coming to you as soon as you come out of this exploration, which is really great. Again, I wish I could be more specific, but when the cards are like this, sometimes our spirit guides and tarot will not want to get specific because they feel that if you were too locked onto an idea, you will miss the whole point of what you need to do right now. Especially when we have the Four of Wands. When the Four of Wands is in reverse, this implies that things are going to be great and turn out your way, but you still need to put in effort. It's like, yes, here's your answer. Everything is going to be okay, but you still need to not just lay back and let it happen. Sometimes that's the case. In this case, it's not. You need to work on yourself and take some time to connect to better vibes and shift your perspective and stuff like that. But the rescue card says, listen, do not be afraid, no matter how successful you are, to ask for help if you need it. It is okay to do really well and be at the top of your game, but in order to keep staying there, you need to keep growing. And in order to keep growing, there's nothing weak about turning to someone and saying, hey, do you know how to solve this? Can you comfort me when I need it? Hey, I'm still a human being, no matter how inhumanly successful I am. So definitely understand that there's people around you right now that it's more than okay to turn around, get a hug, ask, hey, I've discovered this about myself. What do you think about it, or whatever? But it's also the heavy implication that when you get into this situation of success, like we talked about after this time period of isolation, this is not something where you're just simply like the boss now, or you got a new management position and it's like, woo, more money. It's like you're going to be heightened up, but you're not going to be fully, it's like getting the shift position, but not the manager position, as in you're on your way there in the long-term future, but make sure you understand that you still need to reach out and ask other people, okay, what do I need to get there? It's like you're giving like breadcrumbs before you get the whole feast, if that makes sense. So even the process of you receiving the success and still needing to learn is a part of that journey, if that makes sense. But also, petrified wood. Petrified wood is great. It just, again, implying, guess what? Success is on your way. Everything's great, but it's a timing thing. That you just need to be patient, understand the universe understands when it is or isn't time to receive something. Not all the time. The universe is very mysterious. Sometimes it's a life lesson thing. Sometimes it's not. Sometimes it's a timing thing. Sometimes you're in control. It's weird. It's kind of like everything's real and valid. I know it seems a little wish-washy, but it's just the truth. It's like it's all valid, but there are still circumstances, or as I'd like to see it, because I believe in like quantum relevance and stuff, perspective, because on a personal level, this is like, I'm sorry, I'm like inserting my personal beliefs here. I just believe it's all possible at any time if you can get in the right headspace. But in this case, again, this is a reassurance thing that timing-wise, you need to be focusing on this, but once the timing is right, for obvious reasons, you'll be coming into that large amount of success, which is really cool and awesome. So I hope you enjoyed this and you were just looking forward to all these good things coming your way, better understanding of yourself, overcoming some bad vibes, bad perspectives, and understanding you're not alone, but definitely spend some time alone. And look forward and get excited for when the timing all works out. So anyways, if you enjoyed this video, please consider giving it a like, comment, subscribe. It helps out the channel like you would not believe. Either way, have a lovely day. I will see you in the next one. Bye. Like, comment, subscribe. Group number 2. Group number 2. Let's talk about the positive changes coming your way by looking at the cards. Oh, I'm not even going to try. If you know how to properly enunciate this, please let me know in the comments. We have Dragon's Lair Oracle card upright. I'm very, very, very drawn to this. The Hangman upright. 3 of Swords in reverse. Page of Pentacles upright. Page of Cups in reverse. And Knight of Cups upright. Let me just double check something real quick. King of Cups in reverse. Okay, I just wanted to make totally sure this wasn't someone new. No, we're just talking about one person in particular. This is fantastic news. Now, I'm specifically talking about you having it's already happened, been hurt by someone. This feels predominantly romantic, if I'm being honest, but this is a general reading, so if this is somebody you care about deeply, like a friend or something like that, it can apply to them. This is just someone you care about deeply. Whatever it is, you've been hurt badly. And essentially, the big positive change, keep in mind, it's just the one. The cards and your spirit guides don't want to talk about anything else. They just want you to focus on this, that you are going to be overcoming it in a big kind of way. Because it's not just that, like, oh, the comforting message of like, yes, you're going to overcome this. That was not, it's like kind of I see a lot of reaffirming cards to be like, yep, they weren't great. Let's talk about that. But it's about understanding that what you're healing from now is creating a really solid, huge foundation. This is important. We're going to go into this in more detail. That is going to build to a lighter, more effervescent, easier, just so much more simplified future, bright and successful. So what feels difficult now and what seems like a lot to take on at the moment is not only going to shift, the winds and be better for you just because you're no longer hurt, but it's something that's like building a belief system is the best way I can put it. So it's this change is like a dramatic positive change. It's more than just feeling better is what I'm trying to say. So let's start over here with the Hangman. Let's just say it is not a coincidence that I keep getting isolation cards. This is definitely talking about you being forced to essentially be isolated for obvious reasons, but it also talks about the idea that the timing's not right. Sometimes when we're not having other opportunities, especially when we're talking about this can be a romantic partner, this can be a better friend, it just feels like we're not able to find that other person or that other connection. It's because it's just not the right time right now. Sometimes it's actually an incredibly comforting message because it implies it's not something that you've done wrong. It just sometimes is that way, but I would argue based on the way the cards are, you're kind of like the universe is working in your favor right now, essentially. They're like, listen, you need a second, so that wonderful person coming your way, we're going to kind of put them on hold for a moment so you can work some stuff out. So when you go to meet this new person, you feel like the truest, most authentic, new and improved you, if that makes sense. But the Hangman is ruled by Neptune. And this talks about the idea of the unconscious mind and the conscious mind, but specifically talking about the blurred lines of what's an illusion and what's true. And often it can be the case in both the unconscious mind and conscious, if that makes sense. So this is about digging deep and understanding that pain. We're going to talk about that pain in the Three of Swords. That when the Three of Swords is in reverse, this is when you're trying to force yourself to move on when you are just not ready. You're trying to sweep it under the rug, and guess what? It's not helping the situation. You're only going to keep repeating and experiencing the same sort of pain and same sort of people unless you deal with this. So you're kind of being forced lovingly by your spirit guides in the universe to be like, we're going to put you on hold so this doesn't continue. So you've got some people helping you out, which is really great. But anyways, when we talk about the whole idea of illusions and the truth, it's about analyzing this pain and going, what your partner or friend, again, general reading, this significant person in your life, what they said true and what was an illusion? Because if it wasn't ever real, then why should you give it weight? Does that make sense? And there still can be truth to help you feel like it wasn't a waste of time, or you learned something from it, or it helps benefit you in another way. Like you can get some sort of advice or learn something from somebody, but still go, I want nothing to do with you, but thank you for that nugget of knowledge, if that makes sense. Now, I can tell over here, I just want to focus on them for a second, because over here we have you represented by the Knight of Cups. You are coming at them with just very overt affection. This is the type of really obvious sort of letting them know profusely that you cared about them verbally. This is like just straight up holding their hand. A lot of action in expressing what you felt for them and just being like, yeah, I'm committed. I want to make this happen. I'm dedicated. Let's make it work. You clearly were in it, if that makes sense. You were very engaged and, like I said, committed is the best word. But then we have the Page of Cups, and this can help better understand who they were and where they were coming from. Because when we have the Page of Cups in reverse, this just constantly pops up for me. You'll find when you read tarot for yourself or whatever, everybody who, I'll let you in on a little secret. When you read tarot, every tarot reader will develop their own personal language with the cards, and you'll find certain cards pop up for certain people. So over time, that card has like a specific nuance besides just the basic meaning. And so I'm letting you in when I usually get pages of cup. When I get page of cup in reverse, this usually pops up when I'm connecting to someone who started out great, everything was awesome, they were really engaging with you, but they honestly were coming from a place of vanity. They were hitting on you in order to make themselves feel better, which is incredibly cruel, but they weren't evil. They weren't even trying to be manipulative. It was just like an ego fest, if that makes sense. So when they stopped talking to you, or it seemed like there was some sort of cutoff or whatever, kind of like often a 180 type feeling, keep in mind that had nothing to do with you. I don't see anything you did, let's just put it this way. It was their own personal, like, oh, now I want this thing because it will give me attention, if that makes sense. And I want to point out that moodiness because that's incredibly important for you healing to connect to that, so you can be like, yeah, you know what, that's who they were. I don't need, like, let me understand this in order to move on. So when we have the King of Cups in reverse, this is someone who's incredibly emotionally imbalanced because either they have too much emotions and they're like all over the place, like very mood swingy, or they're completely cut off and lacking emotions. Either way, when they presented it's like they presented you a false sense of like, oh yeah, of course I want to be with you. Oh my gosh, I'm so into you. It doesn't mean they weren't into you and they didn't enjoy the time they had with you, but they did not have the intention in the long term for it to continue because they just wanted to follow the vanity of the next thing that's going to make them feel good. It's kind of that like sick addiction to love. Being addicted to love and enjoying love in general or romance is not a bad thing at all, but some people use and abuse it and are fully aware that they do it and don't have a healthy relationship to it. This is one of those people, to put it lightly. And due to their either mood swingy emotions or their lack of it, it makes them kind of unpredictable. Again, this is them. It fuels them to want to have their attention fed, and it never feels like enough. So we should honestly feel sorry for them that they're never satiated with this wonderful, great, who doesn't love a Knight of Cups? Knight of Cups, and I just want to compliment you, is someone who's not afraid to love, but to put it out there and to express it and perpetuate it. Fantastic partners, great people to be with, the type of people, both everybody, no matter your type, the way you like to express your love, everybody wants this secretly. Even if they're a little closed off, they want this type of reassurance, if that makes sense. So then this is when we have the Page of Pentacles. The Page of Pentacles is the sort of, first of all, it's somebody who's like working on something right now in order to build for the future. So this is you building a tangible set of beliefs, tangible set of beliefs, that's not possible, a set of beliefs now by understanding your pain. But this isn't the type of belief system that's a cutoff type of feeling. Oh no, I see you getting raw and open, and we're going to get to that in a moment. But this is about being like, okay, I've learned it, I understand it, I'm now setting it to stone, if that makes sense. Both of these cards are like, okay, we're going to take time and we're facing this in order to no longer cover it up, but understand, why am I covering it up? How can I solve it or heal it? What can I do than purely just comfort myself to feel better? How can I understand the situation and make it work to my benefit in the long term, if that makes sense? Now, these two cards are so important. I am like insanely like hypnotized, trance-like, and when I get like that, it's super important. So I want you to focus on this imagery because it's going to come up later for you. It's both acting as a metaphor, but it's something that's going to be really important for you. Yeah, my spirit guides, I'm getting like, okay, I'm sorry, I'm getting it really hard. So this image of it being very wide at the bottom and getting tall, you could see it as a tower, you could see it as like a pyramid. It's extremely important to your journey right now, so just pay attention to that. But think of it right now metaphorically as the foundation. It's hard to build, it's a lot, it seems overwhelming, you don't even know how you're going to get to the top. But then once it's set, once you know you can depend on it, there seems to be less to do. You don't need to build out as wide in order to get to the height that you want to get, whether that's be the height of consciousness, the height of feeling like the best version of yourself, the height of success, whatever that pinpoint is for you. Understand what you're doing now is this big positive shift that's starting everything else. And I don't mean to be repetitive, but I just want to be clear. Many times when we heal, it's just like we heal and we move on. Not this. This is so positive and significant. So over here with this crystal card, this talks about the idea where you're facing uncomfortable situations and choosing to smooth them out in order to move on. I'll be honest with you, especially with the Dragon Slayer card, which talks about the idea of facing danger actively. It does feel like you're going to have an encounter with this person again in order. It's interesting that the tarot cards don't talk about it, but these heavily imply that you will talk to them again. There's some sort of facing them in order to have that final sense of like closure and understanding of who they are. It's like seeing them after you've healed mostly, and then that final cherry on the sundae is seeing them from a new perspective as someone who's matured and no longer feels attached to them in that way, and you can see them truly for who they are, if that makes sense. Because the Dragon Slayer is a really comforting card. It basically implies that you are going to head into a situation that's risky and dangerous. However, you can trust yourself. Your kind of like your safety signs, your red flags, the things that come up and warn you about things are totally working great. You're going to know when to dodge stuff. You're going to know when not to engage. But it also implies that it's still worth going forward because you can't change, you can't grow unless you sometimes move forward into situations that aren't always nice. Sometimes through that thicket is something wonderful. Think of it in a cliche term, like there's a dragon, you got to get past the dragon through the tower, but what's at the top of the tower? A princess or a prince. You know what I mean? You're going to get there, so why not go through it in order to get what you would really like, some like a gift, a victory gift, so to speak. You know what I mean? And that victory gift can be your future next somebody, or it can be just the feeling of being truly connected to yourself and feeling confident and great and being like, wow, I didn't know I could feel this good, whatever it is. So yeah, that's everything. I hope you enjoyed this reading as much as I enjoyed giving it. I'm really looking forward to your growth. And consider giving the video a like, comment, subscribe. It helps out the channel like you would not believe. Either way, have a lovely day. I will see you in the next one. Let's get ready for group number 3. Group number 3. Let's look at the positive changes coming to your life by looking at the cards. We have... Oh, I love Sunstone. Okay, this is fantastic. Oh my god, I'm so excited for you. Okay, Metamorphosis Upright Oracle card. Okay, let's put that one in the center. 6 of Swords upright. Oh my goodness. Knight of Wands upright. 5 of Cups in reverse. Wow, this is fantastic. King of Swords in reverse. Okay, duly noted. 7 of Wands in reverse. Good to know. This is very important that you know that. This is great. Okay, this is awesome. So, most of this is pretty much revolved... this is so great. This is so positive. So, there's like a big shift in you right now, and it can be kind of painful. But my goodness, are you being thrusted towards it with or without your permission? This is kind of like a combination of you are trying to actively work on improving yourself and changing. You can feel the change happening. You're trying to work on these things that have been like holding you back, or this is the main thing. It makes you feel like you're limited or imprisoned. That's the main feeling I'm like getting. So it's a combination of you, but a combination of like you are being thrusted out there by the universe. They are done waiting for you. They're pushing you forward. They're making it happen, if that makes sense. And that can be a little bit of a painful process, which it can be uncomfortable. But I want to talk about some things that are so wonderful about it and some things you're going to be letting go of. It's important. So the biggest thing I want to point out, it's a little bit negative, but keep in mind, I just want to point it out and why it's so great you're working on these things. Because when we have the Seven of Wands in reverse, especially in the position it is, it's this feeling that you're not as protected as you think you are by holding on to these beliefs that are hurting you. It does not mean you're going to be attacked or anything bad's going to happen to you. Not at all. It's more kind of talking to that ego in us that thinks, because the King of Swords directly talks about the idea of acknowledging your shortcomings when things are holding you back. To be a little bit brutally honest, this might be a little harsh to hear, the King of Swords often pops up when we put our blame onto others, or we're like, oh, they caused this, this is why I am this way. It doesn't mean that can't be true to a certain regard completely, but it's saying if you're only focusing on that and almost depending on it as a crux or something like that, you're sorely mistaken. You're using this sort of mentality or whatever shortcomings you're in general working with as a comfort blanket, and it is in fact not defending and protecting you the way you think it is. Again, just want to be perfectly clear, nothing bad's going to happen to you, you're totally fine, but if you were to experience somebody who hurt your feelings or a situation you didn't like, do not think this viewpoint is at all going to make you feel better, or prevent any further like emotional discomfort, if that makes sense. But let's talk about the good stuff. So Five of Cups in reverse is fantastic. It is someone finally overcoming whatever loss or grief they've had. That term loss is really interesting here because this is a general reading. Some of you have probably lost someone significant, either like actually lost somebody or lost them in the form of a connective relationship, you know what I mean? But this feels like it's way more connected to the sometimes when we're growing and shifting and changing and leaving old habits behind, it feels like we're dying. You know what I mean? It feels intense. It's like this is the beautiful end result and the shift you're going through of you being like, I am okay with this now. I'm accepting it. I'm moving on. I'm starting to be empowered by it. And these cards talk about the act of being like, oh, you're moving there. It's going to be slow and steady and rough at first. You're going to make it happen. This is a lot of intellect. So it's a lot of like being analytical, thinking about it, more than feeling it, like leading with your head and being logical about the situation and facing all the facts of like whatever you need to analyze about yourself. But then over here is like you building that sense of like genuine excitement and passion for what you're doing and wanting to improve and really just like running, 0 to 80 to feeling letting go of this grief. You're like, it's like you finally go, oh my gosh, I acknowledge whatever I've been through. I acknowledge that I don't need to hold on to this anymore. I get it. I don't want to. Let's move. Let's go. Let's make it happen. Let's make it happen. So it's gonna happen really slowly at first, and then suddenly be like a hard shift, change, 180 in positivity, excitement. Sometimes we can be feeling better, but still in pain, but feel unbridled sense of joys as we have these like sense of epiphanies, if that makes sense. Now that's important to acknowledge over here when we have the Metamorphosis card and the Sunstone card, which are the most important cards in this entire spread, because both talk about the idea of holding on to something. This is so interesting because it's actually a really positive concept that you're free and you're not aware you're free. So when we have a Metamorphosis card, this acknowledges, the obvious, like kind of like the Death card, like rebirth, metamorphosis, changing, evolving, a new version of you. But it's really focusing on the idea of letting something die in order to grow. That it can be rough, but it leads to something so positive and fruitful and rejuvenating. But letting something die does not have to be a scary thing. This can be like low self-esteem, letting low self-esteem die. But the thing is, when we and this is something very important to acknowledge because this gets repeated here in the Sunstone card. The Sunstone card talks about the idea that we over time have been through something for so long, whether that be someone putting us in a position, a mentality we've been brought up with, a way we've been defending and surviving by building certain beliefs. We've held on to those ideas for so long because we've been in an imprisoned state, so to speak, that when we're finally free, it's so hard to just, you think when you get there, you would just, imagine yourself in a cage. You think when the doors open, you'd run out, but you're so used to being inside it, you're not really sure how to process that, if that makes sense. Now, think of the Metamorphosis card saying, and when we talked about your shortcomings and holding it like a safety blanket, this is like saying, why do I think this mentality of negativity, putting myself down, thinking the worst of other people, not trusting the universe is in the least going to help me? I need to let go of that. But letting go of it can be hard at first because you're so used to it, but it doesn't mean you still can't do it. And oh my goodness, when we have the Metamorphosis card, this acknowledges that the second you let go of it, whew, this is a big, flourishing, positive, overwhelming, new you type of vibe. But when we grow and change, it is intense to say the least. I'm not saying that to scare you. I'm just simply saying that people always think it's like this peaceful, loving thing. It's quite volatile, but in a good way. Like it's riding a tornado of light and you're like, whoa, but you're also like, this is kind of cool. You know what I mean? And the Sunstone card acknowledges that you are actually free, that you are good to go, you are ready to move on from this grief, you are ready, you have all this freedom and positivity around you, but you're so kind of mentally, trained to focus on the fact that you're having a hard time accepting and choosing to move forward. This is kind of a crystal that says, go, move through the door, let yourself go, you are free. It's acknowledging and comforting and reassuring that yes, it's understandable that you have that viewpoint, but it's also acknowledging it's not real anymore. It's time to move forward. You've got this. So overall, incredibly positive. I'm so excited for you. Again, main thing I want you to focus on in this process of being able to move into this positive metamorphosis is that you're going to be letting go and accepting loss in order to move on, but that loss is based on your shortcomings, your safety blanket of ways you criticize yourself and put yourself down and you think that protects you, but you've only had that mentality because you've been trapped and put down for so long. You're not even aware that a lot of great things are around you, a lot of sense of like freedom and positivity if you just choose to move through it. So you're going to be moving through it. So get excited, get pumped. I'm pumped for you. If you enjoyed this reading, please feel free to give this video a like, comment, and subscribe. Either way, have a lovely day. I will see you in the next one, and let's get ready for group number 4. Group number 4, let's look into the positive changes coming to your life by looking at the cards. We have, oh my goodness, I feel like I pronounce all of these wrong. Celestite? Anyone want to let me know if I said that right? Your oracle card is Deep Freeze Upright. Ooh. I have questions. I have a lot of questions. I have more questions. The Moon card upright, the Tower card upright. Please, I'm going to do a PSA about the Tower card. I'm sick of hearing it spoken about in such a negative light. King of Pentacles in reverse, Seven of Cups in reverse, and the Empress in reverse. Okay, so here's the thing. People always... Okay, so you're going through something very interesting. This is for sure a very deep spiritual thing. We're going to be talking about it in more detail in a second, and I'm really excited for you. But I want to just send out this positive PSA. I'm really tired of people pulling the Tower card and assuming the worst. I also hate when people use it as a form an excuse to say something bad's happening in like the universe when like there's always good and bad happening, and that's absolutely insane to give weight to one circumstance when even if you're not personally dealing with it, there's a lot of different people all over the world dealing with stuff. So I think it's super pessimistic and actually inaccurate. The Tower card is about a dramatic life shift. So yes, it can be negative completely, but it can also be really positive because it is about your day to day shifting due to this change. So that could be like, let's say you you get an apartment and you didn't intend for that to happen. It's like a new great apartment or a new job. I mean, wouldn't you argue that's really positive? And I would even go further and say, like, let's say you do go through something kind of rough and it wasn't what you anticipated, but by the end of it, you end up like really understanding who you are and like being a stronger person, and then end up meeting the love of your life because of it. You know what I mean? Like, I just don't get the Tower card and shut down and be afraid of it. Change is often a really positive thing. Ultimately, it usually always is, but I'm just putting that out there. So anyways, let's get to your specific reading though. So the big thing I want to talk about is this mindset going on, what's actually happening right now, and what it's building to, because it is, oh my goodness, when we have the Tower and the Moon card, this is like really, 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 I cannot stress this enough, huge, prolific, deep, spiritual, unconscious, subconscious thinking and reworking and growing. It's big and it's positive, and I'm excited for you. But let's talk about this mood we have going on over here. It's going to sound a little rough at first. Stick with me. You need to hear it in order to move forward. But over here, when we have the Empress card, this is somebody, actually, hold on. I just want to be real quick. Okay, good. I just wanted to make absolutely sure I was good. Anyways, so when we have the Empress card in reverse, this is somebody who's focusing way too much on the things they didn't like instead of focusing on all the good things. So your perspective is less of lack and it's more about waste, because with the Five of Pentacles, it means you straight up don't have it. The Empress in reverse is actually very positive, saying like, you do have this. In fact, I can see over here with the Seven of Cups in reverse, this is when you have a lot of like opportunities coming your way. You have abundance all around you, but you're choosing to focus on, like, let's say you have a garden, you're choosing to focus on all the weeds and how much you hate it. And slowly, over time, that's all you can see. That's all you're giving energy to. You're not watering the rest of the flowers. You're not enjoying it. And you're going to, in the long term, regret it. I don't mean that as a threat, not as a negative thing. It's more just like, I don't want to say anything that will upset anyone. It's looking back in life and being like, oh my goodness, I really had it good and I didn't, oh my goodness, why did I not give myself more credit or be nicer to who I was as a person? It's very much that vibe. So that mentality I can see is coming over here with the Page of Cups in reverse. This is when you are unable to hear messages from unusual circumstances. So this can be spirit guides, but this could be someone you've never met. I'm going to be honest with you, this is way more spiritual, so keep in mind, even if it is physical, I'll be honest with you, this is going to be an unexpected thing even in the real world. I can actually give you an example of that. This is so weird, but around the supermoon, both me and my boyfriend were experiencing very weird circumstances through coins, and clearly our spirit guides were trying to speak to us. For me, every time I was doing a cleansing spell, every time I was cleaning an area, I would turn around, and I'm not kidding you, immediately would see like a quarter, and then I would turn around and I'd see another quarter, and I kept picking them up and cleaning them. And then I'd see another one. And I'm telling you, they were showing up out of thin air. And that's like a form of, and this was during the time period when I was like asking my spirit guides, like being like, are you with me? You know, am I doing a good job? And they were like, yeah. And in my boyfriend's circumstance, he too was actually in a very like, you know, stuck mindset and kind of needed jostled out of it. And no joke, he was, you know, like he was washing his hands or something, and a coin just out of nowhere, dropped out of thin air, showed up in the sink. Like he heard it slide into the sink. It wasn't on the sink, it just popped up. It was so weird and random. And then from there, he didn't know he had taken it, and he was getting something out of his wallet, and like his wallet out of his pocket, and a coin dropped out of that wallet. It was nuts. And he was like, I did not put this here. And then when he was at a convenience store and he was purchasing something, the person behind the counter, the cash register person, for no reason held up the coin, went, gotta keep you on your toes, and dropped a coin. All dimes. It was weird, and that's what I'm talking about. That's often the universe or spirit guides, whatever you believe in, going, wake up, we're trying to talk to you. And that is a great version of something physical, but having much more synchronistic and more spiritual things going on with it. Anyways, so when we have the Seven of Cups in reverse, this shows you choosing. You're gonna have a lot of options, or you're having them right now. This is a general reading, but when you've chosen that choice and you decide to move forward for better or worse, it just doesn't feel like you're happy about it. You feel like you're settling. It's a perspective thing. You are not due to this, you're not opening yourself up to hearing all your options and what they could mean. You understandably are just trying to, it doesn't mean you're making the wrong decision. It just means you're unable, you feel off, and you then give this more attention, this sort of like lacking mindset, because you can tell you're off. But you're off because you're cutting yourself off from something, if that makes sense. You can view it as your intuition. I'm trying to speak to everyone here, so it's whatever it is. It's a feeling of being cut off when you don't need to be, essentially. Now, here's what the cool thing is. So when we have the deep freeze, this is interesting because I would like to describe it as a pregnant pause. This is when you are kind of put in a position in life where you feel like you're unable to move forward, both because of energy, circumstances, timing, whatever. It just doesn't feel like anything's happening right now. And you're kind of being forced to be there in order to build up energy. That's the best way I put it, because that's definitely what's the double confirmation with the King of Pentacles. The King of Pentacles is somebody who's choosing to not move forward, choosing to not make action because they're waiting. But while they're waiting, their energy is like building up and building up. So once they make that choice, it's going to be an explosion. It's going to be big. As we can see, there's going to be a big explosion over here as we talk about. Because when we have the Celestite, this talks about the idea of your spirit guides desperately, and I mean that very strongly, are trying to contact you. They have messages for you. They want to talk to you. They deeply want to connect with you. They want you to understand what they have to say. They're very much, it's more than being like, oh yes, all your dreams come true and they support you. They are trying to talk to you. They are trying to get your attention. They're like, we're here. We are actively reaching out. Whether you've been reaching out to us, we're trying to get your attention. But the thing is, as you can tell from the deep freeze, you are kind of in a place where you're not able to hear what they're saying due to this perspective. But the thing is, this doesn't necessarily mean like, oh, you have a bad attitude. Nothing like that. It's more like you're being aware of it now. You're aware of what's leading to what, as we talked about, how the certain perspective leads to feeling cut off. You don't want to feel cut off. You're kind of being put on pause right now in order to fix that, solve that solution. And as you're changing that solution, as you're moving forward, as we talked about, you're going to start understanding your unconsciousness. We're talking about like the type of vibe when you're meditating and you start to experience weird stuff. We're talking about when people astral project. We're talking about like behind the veil, the weird stuff. And this talks about how you're going to start to be able to head towards that, receive it, hear it, connect to it, but you need to understand that it is there, that you are cut off from it. You're right now put on pause, and because right now you're working on that, you're fixing it in order to gain a better perspective to then open yourself up to it, because your spirit guides are like really, really, really trying to get your attention, especially when we have the Tower card. It just feels like whether you know it or not, you are, how do I express this? If you believe in quantum, I don't know if the term is quantum theory, quantum realms, whatever. It's the idea like when people believe in quantum hypnosis with past life regressions, they believe that you can have past lives even though you haven't, like ones you haven't experienced yet, because of the way time works and the way it's like layered, all happening at the same time and stuff like that, multiple universes at once kind of concept. And so it's like you might not have been working towards this, but it's going to happen anyways. This is like an ascension thing. It's like another lifetime experience version of yourself blending over with another. And whether you are aware of it or not, you are going to be going into it. So your spirit guides are trying to guide you, they're trying to help you, they're trying to be there for you, and they're trying to get you to the Knight of Cups upright, which this is somebody who is passionately living their life, emotionally open, and not only being emotionally open, but putting it out there. They're spreading the message. Some people misinterpret this as like a teacher type thing. I mean, if you want to do that, there's nothing wrong with that. I'm all for that. But this is more like somebody who's finally able to connect to like expressing love and expressing when they enjoy something and letting people know about it. It's about understanding this, unconsciousness, the spiritual realm, and starting to express it. And the more you express it, the more you feel connected to your spirit guides, the more they can communicate back, if that makes sense. So yeah, really, really, I gotta be honest with you, this is so similar to, I wish I had the name, I apologize I don't have a name. There's a bunch of people who believe in this idea of the earth ascending into the fifth dimension. Look it up to get a better understanding of it, but it's this idea of people needing to work on being spiritually awoken in order to ascend and be like on a higher frequency. And so it looks like your spirit guides are like desperately trying to get out to you and build that connection in order to do so. So get excited for that. I'm pumped for you. I know it's a weird concept. It's okay if you don't believe in it. Keep an open mind. I was a complete skeptic myself. And then when you start to receive the messages and start to hear things and see things, it is really wild, really prolific and deep. And I just want to be clear about this. It does not have to be tied to any sort of organization. Spirituality is not something that can be organized. It is a feeling and an enjoyable, knowledgeable experience. And it is totally its own thing. It does not have to be tied to anybody else's beliefs. Again, I just want to keep saying the term organization. You know what I mean. So anyways, I hope you enjoyed this reading. If you did, please feel free to leave it a like, comment, and subscribe. It helps with the video like you would not believe. Either way, have a lovely day. I will see you in the next one, and let's get ready. Oh wait, this is the last one. Oh, bye. Have a nice day.